Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here on United We Stand. Now that may sound familiar because it really refers to the United Way. This is all about the United Way. We have a whole series here every Thursday at, 12 o'clock. And we talk to people who are having the benefits of United Way, gifts. And today, we have a special guest, Laura Brucia Hamm. Ham?
Ham.
Okay. First two words are Italian. The third is very American.
Yeah,
Ham.
a little bit German.
Little German, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and she is the executive director of Patch. And I actually, going into this show, I don't know exactly what Patch stands for. I believe it's an acronym. What does it stand for?
It is, and it's a sweet acronym. It stands for People Attentive to Children. So, and we formed about almost 40 years ago. Next year will be our 40th anniversary, and it all stemmed because some very concerned citizens and people involved in the social world and the medical world noticed that in Hawaii, it is so expensive to afford quality child care. And I think there's a misunderstanding of what child care is. Child care for us is really a professional possibility. It's a professional arena. These are individuals that dedicate their lives to becoming professional educators, not just babysitters. You know, we're honored that we get the #1 babysitter award, through Honolulu Magazine very consistently.
Patch does.
Yes, we do.
Oh, good for you.
Yes, thank you. But we know it's beyond that. Even though we enjoy that title, we know it's beyond that because we're helping create professionals helping develop children from the ages of 0 to 5 to be successful citizens in the world, and we can talk more about that.
Well, yeah. First, I want to talk about you, though.
Okay.
You're a, let me get this right, a counselor psychologist person.
Well, my background, yes, is counseling psychology.
Where'd you go to school?
Sorry?
Where'd you go to school?
I graduated from Columbia University in New York City.
Columbia University, one of the best schools in the country.
Yes.
Now it begins to unfold. Now I begin to understand. Okay, and what is that? Counseling and psychology, what is that?
Well, my focus was women's challenges as well as multicultural challenges as well, and multicultural topics. And I did practice that for a while through 1995, and readily or quickly realized that even though I loved the field, it wasn't something that I wanted to do day in and day out as a practice in terms of therapy. So soon after I moved to Hawaii, actually I practiced through 98 and then moved to Hawaii and fell into the lap of social services and working with Catholic charities for a while, overseeing some residential programs, and then 7 of the first few years I was here was with Halekipa, overseeing some of their teen pregnancy, family strengthening, therapeutic, and residential programs.
I want to step through that slowly because I need to know. We all need to know. Your entry was with Catholic Charities.
Yes.
And what did you do for them? What did you learn from them?
Sure. I was a parent consultant, and I spent a couple of years involved with their sexually abusive youth home, which I understand. I think they changed the name. But the program involved teen boys, actually as young as 11 through the age of 17, who had sexually abused other children. Well, the children that I had met during this program, 9 times out of 10, or often even 10 times out of 10, had been abused themselves. So it's going to relate to the idea of what the environment teaches our children and what children then exhibit back into their future environments. When I talk about Patch later.
Children are impressionable, and what
very
happens to them has a long leverage.
Exactly.
You might think that they can overcome a bad experience, but it actually defines them sometimes.
It can, and they can overcome it because we saw tremendous success with the boys that we worked with, very closely with. They were able to overcome the behaviors that they had once practiced, and to understand it, and to learn, go through the therapeutic process individually and in a group setting where they could learn where it all stemmed from, now what can I do about it differently, and why should I make those decisions to be different and not harm another human being.
Okay, that's Catholic Charities.
That was Catholic Charities, yeah.
Okay, then Halekipa.
Yes, and then I worked with Halekipa for 7 years and was able to develop and run their teen pregnancy prevention program, as well as their family strengthening program. And we were involved with 2 middle schools, Stevenson Middle School and Quananacoa Middle School, who were just absolutely wonderful partners in helping us pilot medically accurate medically accurate comprehensive sex education, as well as our family strengthening programs, which was all voluntary. But again, just being able to measure outcomes and see results of change was tremendous.
You come into Hawaii with this really good education from a really good school and some time in practice. I guess that was in New York.
That was actually in New York and Louisiana.
Louisiana?
Yes.
Oh, even more complex.
Yes.
That's complex.
Yeah.
Okay, and why Louisiana?
Well, actually, that's where my family immigrated to back in 1974 when I was very little, and grew up there. So I went to New York for grad school and then went back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then you have this experience in, 2 very different cultural places in the country. And if your family recently immigrated from Italy, I guess, then you have another cultural factor operating there, okay?
Yes.
Now you come to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Hawaii is a whole different kind of experience from
Yes.
anything you described. So how did you find your training, your skills, your exposure? How did it work for you when you came here and you saw what was going on in Catholic Charities and with Hale Kipa?
I think the experience that I had that brought me to Hawaii and then being immersed in Hawaii was almost like a breath of fresh air, because it reconnected me back to why I chose the field of psychology when I did choose it years ago, based on cultural differences and how those come together and how they impact each other and how relationships develop. And believe it or not, the Hawaiian culture is very similar to the Italian culture I was raised with in terms of the
Balabusta, big heart. Big heart. A lot of feeling.
Lots of feeling and connection to your loved ones and your family and to your neighbor, connection to food and that sharing, connection to your environment, your land. It was so refreshing because in Louisiana, where I grew up in North Louisiana, not South, North, not so much. So it was just very refreshing to be able to take my culture, how I was raised, and actually live it in a state in the United States.
So you're comfortable?
Similar. Very comfortable.
Right. Did you find you were adequately trained to deal with the complexities of these cultural problems, teen pregnancy and the like? That's not easy to deal with.
Yeah, I don't think fresh out of school you're ever completely trained, or even just after a few years of practice. I think we have to always be open to constantly learning. I'm still constantly learning. And so the experiences and the connections and the collaborations that we had, especially with Hawaii Youth Services Network, who helped really guide and spearhead that teen pregnancy program that we had, through those relationships and through getting to know people and through my experience with Hale Kipa, just drove more and more the depth of that connection and more that experience. But I don't think it's never ending.
Accepted.
Yeah.
So now, in both of these experiences, we haven't gotten to Patch yet. In both of these experiences, you became familiar with the stratification. It's a harsh word, but the stratification of Hawaii society. What did you learn about that? What did you see in that when you took those 2 jobs?
I saw that there was a huge need. I saw that people were very interested and very curious and very dedicated in wanting to meet some of these needs. Hawaii is very similar to Louisiana in always being in the top 10 for teen pregnancy rates, for example. Incarceration rates, kids dropping out of schools, tons of similarities. So even though I personally consider Hawaii more progressive, more connected, based on my experience growing up in Louisiana, the need was there and the passion and dedication is here, but what I noticed was that we just needed more awareness to the general public. And I think as nonprofits, we just get so busy doing the good work and connecting, collaborating with each other, that over the last few decades, we haven't been as successful really bringing that awareness to light to the community on how they play an integral role. So what we do is we establish these smaller relationships and collaborations. However, I'd have to say over the last 5-10 years, that's grown quite a bit, where there's more education, there's more awareness, bringing different sectors involved. Aloha United Way being a huge piece. Even though in the nonprofit world, they're connected to the business world, to the corporate world, also to individuals who can then be enlightened on
They're
what
the
the needs are.
intermediary
Yes.
between where the money is and where the money isn't.
Correct, correct.
So let me go back to one thing
Yeah.
again, to 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if in that 30 years, things were actually declining, you know. I would tell you before the show about my vision, my early vision of Hawaii was, and many people in this whole world, was based on, you know, Webley Edwards and the Hapahauli music in the courtyard of the Banyan Tree Courtyard and the Almana Hotel, and the radio program called Hawaii Calls, which, you know, sort of sent a message to the world about what we were. And it was a nice message. And still today, in many places, you know, people see Hawaii through the experience they had with that, the influence of that. And, you know, in fact, that's not real anymore. It might have been real then, to some, but not now. And I suggest to you that maybe in the past 30 years, we distanced ourselves. We lost that somehow, or we lost it more. And so you get the stratification we're talking about, say, and the stratification probably happened, I would say, just wild guess, happened in that 30 years. But what I hear you saying also is that in the last 5 years, we've kind of recognized that. We've gone out affirmatively to fix it. We put some money, some time in it. And what's happened, though, is that the public isn't fully aware of the improvement, say, in the last 5 years.
Yes. And so we have a bit of work to do. And so that's something that Patch is really looking at closely is how do we, you know, continue to doing the good, solid work that we do in connecting families to quality child care and preschool programs, and also keep our educators really at that high level of really shaping the lives of children from 0 to 5, which is such a critical time when your brain development by age 5 is at 90% developed. So to offer that opportunity to a child in a licensed area, a quality area that's consistent and provides a variety of experience and exploration and driven by a child rather than a teacher telling them what to do, for example.
We're trying to create productive citizens for our society.
Yes.
And we don't want unproductive citizens because they're a drag. They cost money.
It's very expensive.
Very expensive to have them around.
But it happens.
But it happens. We expect a certain percentage anyway.
Correct.
But the more we can create productive citizens for our society, the better our society will be.
Exactly.
And on that thought, we're going to take a short break. I am sorry to tell you. Okay, that's Laura Brucia Hamm. Ham.
Both.
Executive Director of Patch, what was the acronym extended to?
People attentive to children.
Okay, I love it.
Thanks.
Here we are on Aloha United We Stand. We're talking about learning better at Patch.
Aloha, I'm Hunter Hevlin, host of Sustainable Hawaii here at ThinkTech Hawaii. You can tune in every week on Thursday at 2 p.m. to see interviews with sustainability professionals from around the state and even further abroad, learning about activities with water management, food security, waste management, and a whole host of other fascinating opportunities to get engaged with making a greener island. So if you're interested in making the transition from consuming individuals to communities of producers, check us out every Thursday.
Aloha, my name is Paul Jackson, better known as PJ, and my local interest is in sports. I have my own sports radio show at KWAI AM 1080 that you can stream live. I also have my own website, pjsportsradio.com. We have live guests in studio, and we talk about discussions and topics that everyone wants to know locally here on the islands. We cover everything from surfing to basketball to whatever's going on locally, sports-wise. We try to do our best and cover the topics in depth as much as we can. Once again, thank you for joining PJ here on Hawaii Sports Update. Mahalo.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're here with Laura Brucia Hamm. I think I'm getting even better at it. She's the executive director of Patch, which is People Attentive to
Attentive to Children.
Attentive to Children.
Yes.
There it is. There you have. And nothing to do with cigarettes, am I right?
No, nothing to do
Nothing,
with.
none of that.
No, none of that.
Okay,
None of
we
that.
got clear at the outset.
Patching people together, families together,
like that.
patching children through life.
Multiple entendre.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so tell us the story, Laura, of how you got from Halekipa to Patch.
Well, actually, in 2009, I did leave Hawaii for a period of 5 years. My father had been diagnosed with stage 3 bladder cancer, and so English being their second language, I just felt a strong pull to be near them and help them through their medical process. So as of 2010, they took it out, took the bladder out, rebuilt it with a piece of his small intestine, and he has been cancer-free and doing
Isn't that
amazing.
wonderful? What a great story.
Yes.
And you were his advocate, weren't you?
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing that.
You're very welcome. So after, several years of my father being back on his feet and chefing in his kitchen and he and mom doing great, my husband and I, he's from here, decided it was time to come back because this is where we long to be and want to raise our family for future to come and their generations to come, hopefully. So as I started looking for some possibilities, Patch was mentioned to me by my mother-in-law that they were looking for a new executive director, and I applied, and the rest is history. It's
That's
just
great.
a great experience.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so that's been for how many years now?
I just started in December.
Okay, wow.
So I just
All
moved
right.
back in the fall and took the position in December.
So this opens a great question. So what did you find when you actually got on the ground with Patch? And how has it evolved for you in the past, what, 5 months, 6 months,
going on
whatever?
6 months, yeah. Well, I'm really just trying to take in as much as I can because early learning is a field that I was not trained in. Always been an interest. Of course, I had 2 little ones of my own, but I felt it would be a good shift or transition because of my psychology background, my nonprofit background of 20 years, and just my love of being involved in the human services. And as I researched Patch and saw what they did, and also the amount of work that we pay attention to developing a child and how critical that was in my psychological training, it just felt like a natural shift. So still learning quite a bit, and just taking it all in and, doing some change while trying to shift in other areas as well. A few challenges, but for the most part, it's been a wonderful journey.
So, well, exactly what does it do? What are its assets, facilities, programs?
Absolutely. Well, I think our number one asset is our employees. They are, one thing that I noticed is how dedicated and how passionate and intelligent each of them are, no matter what program they're involved in, at what level they're in. And so they've been very critical in helping me immerse myself.
How many are there? What are there? How do you categorize them?
Sure. We have about 38 in our, or across the board from part-time to full-time, and then we have about 20-something trainers across the islands that actually provide a lot of the qualitative training education pieces to the providers. We've got a leadership team, our Associate Director, David Okumura, who is amazingly very intelligent about the whole world of early learning and a great manager. We've got our fund development coordinator, Jenny Shack, who's incredible. Virginia Lord, who is our program coordinator, program manager, who does all the publications I was telling you about earlier, and so many other wonderful needs for the organization. And then, of course, we have our finance director and human resources with Rainey Thornsberry and Janelle Ty, who are just dedicated and passionate and great people. And then we've got our programs. And so our child resource and referral is probably the largest piece that we focus on. We get tens, sometimes multiple calls a day of people wanting to find care for their child. And so we connect them. We find out where they live. We ask them a slew of questions. And we connect them with a number of child care providers in their area. We also provide what we call enhanced referrals. So if they don't have the time or energy to do the legwork in interviewing and finding out the criteria that a child care needs or requires, we will do that for them for a small fee because we want to be able to provide that connectivity as strong.
You want to get the result.
Yeah.
So is it child care or child care on steroids?
It's child care on steroids.
That's
because,
what it sounds like, yeah.
Again, there's that misunderstanding of just providing daycare or babysitting. what we do, what we train people to do to provide to the entire community is far more than that. These individuals who become providers are professionals. They spend countless, over 200 hours working on their certified development associate's degree so that they can be licensed and quality providers raising children from 0 to 5. There's incredible research out of Reggio Emilia in Italy. They were kind of the pioneers in Italy back after World War II, and really wanting to provide a new environment for children. What the fabulous thing that they did that has spawned into the United States as well as other countries is looking at a child as a leader, looking at a child as a creator, and where the teacher, so to speak, is a participant. The teacher works closely with that child and helps facilitate, but does not necessarily tell the child what to do. So it really flips that notion of I'm the parent or I'm the adult, you're the child. It really valued the development and the intelligence of a child, which is phenomenal when you look at the science behind it. That the child can create something as beautiful as a vegetation garden, which is actually happening in Kahuku. I was in Kona at their early learning conference and had the privilege to see these two women take the idea of allowing children, young children before the age of 5, to design a garden, the water system, the gardening, how everything grows, how to cultivate it, what to do with it after, how do you take care of it? If it's dying, now what do we do? And so they really challenged themselves to let the child guide the process and was very patient about that.
That's a million miles away from daycare.
It is, and if you think about it, when you allow this type of environment, what type of adult do you believe you're creating now?
Oh, terrific.
Right? So, and so when you provide these types of environments that involve the science, that involve emotional, social, arithmetic, I mean, there's just so many levels that it provides. You are now preparing a child for kindergarten and avoiding coming in the special education department. You are now preparing them for 3rd grade readiness and reading readiness. They are now way more closer to graduating high school and becoming productive citizens and helping establish a stronger work economy, just right here.
More likely to succeed.
Yes.
You know, just yesterday we had this really exuberant teacher from Iolani who teaches games, computer games.
Yes.
Gabriel Yanagihara was his name. He's from Maui. Very interesting, a local kid, but he really was excited. And the thing was, you say to the kid, "What do you want to do today? What do you want to learn today?" Making the kid think about learning and the kinds of things that he's interested in. And that's the way those classes about games, you know, proceed. And so the kid you're developing, the product that you're yielding into the school system is going to be able to deal with Gabriel Yanagihara and do well with him.
Absolutely.
And the total product that comes out of all of that will be able to do well in the community.
Absolutely. And so, and you can do that at every age level. But we know that from, again, 0 to 5, when 90% of the brain is developed, that is such a critical time for that consistency, safety, quality, and just really driving the percentages of children to becoming productive citizens. And we all want that. And so, because childcare is so expensive, and in the state of Hawaii, it is the most expensive nationally, but is the second most expensive cost to a family, second to housing. It's our duty as Patch to make it available. We have to. We have to provide every opportunity, no matter what your socioeconomic background is, and provide that optimal quality service to each child.
Now the flip side, you alluded to this, the flip side is there is no Patch. There is no good daycare. There is no education of these kids. And I take it the definition of kid would be preschool kids, up till what, 5 or 6?
Up to 5, so preschool, and then of course the infant and toddler. So that stage of 0 to 3, and then 3, 4, 5 for the preschool programs.
Okay, so you don't have any of this. This is in my dark world, my what was it, the world of Christmas, the world of Christmas future, you know. what do you get, on the street, so to speak,
Right.
without the benefit of this kind of
Right.
program? What do you get?
Well, without Patch and without the incredible financial support that we get from Department of Human Services and Department of Education from our multiple contracts.
And Aloha United.
And Aloha United Way, absolutely. Without Patch and without the support and the funding that comes into it, you now have homes that are providing quality childcare that may not be up to the quality level and may not be as connected to the safety, the hazards, the brain development, what to do when there's conflict with the children. If we can't provide this education, this training to quality people, to provide a quality environment, you lose that, right? You lose connecting the families to these quality schools, whether they're in the home, somebody's home, or a center-based facility. And now we're looking at more kids going into special education, which costs more for our community.
Because the DOE provides that, or
Correct.
or refers it, whatever.
Correct, exactly. You're looking at kids not being ready for second and third grade reading. You're looking at less kids graduating, more pregnancies. That's also another statistic that it helps reduce when children have entered quality childcare and preschool programs. And you're looking at higher incarceration rates, unemployment, the list goes on and on.
And fewer productive citizens.
And fewer productive citizens.
So it's really important.
It's very important because
Yeah.
everyone deserves it. And by providing the environment, you provide a lifetime of success. So, and that's kind
That's
of...
a gift.
It is a gift.
This keeps you going, doesn't it?
It does keep me going. It does, because for every child that we can't place in a quality home, that's one more child that we're setting up for possible failure.
Yeah.
And it's our duty to shift that.
So, but before we go to the break, I just want to get one thing set in my mind. So you have staff that goes out and trains people who offer this special education daycare program. And you want to train them the best you can. So your trainers have to be the best they can.
Absolutely.
And the training takes place where? At your facility?
The majority can take place at our facility in group settings. We do have some people that, transportation is a challenge, or finding care for their child to come to trainings is a challenge. So we encourage them to go on our website, and we provide training 24/7 via the internet. So it can be done that way as well for someone who has maybe more challenges or barriers because they can't get to our office. We also take them into various community settings, just depending on the need and the size of the group. But yeah, so we do them in group at our office, across the islands as well, because we're on Maui. We're in Kona and Hilo.
Different offices.
Correct,
Patch
and
offices.
Kauai, correct.
So the idea, though, is that you're training a person who would be a child care specialist person
Yes.
and teacher person who would take children into his or her house.
Correct.
And take care of them, but also train them and get paid by
Correct.
the parents.
Correct.
Or by whatever
Or by
other
financial assistance that we connect the parents to. Correct.
And you can help them.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
somehow it happens.
Yes.
Okay, and they're in business. The ultimate
Yes.
recipient of this training is a business person.
Absolutely.
You're creating a job, actually, a pretty
Yes.
positive job.
And I'm glad you asked that question, because these sometimes are mothers that are maybe first-time moms or have multiple children and can't afford to put their children in childcare, and maybe don't meet the cusp of the financial assistance. So then we might encourage them, hey, you ever thought about becoming a licensed quality childcare provider? Lots of times that perks an interest. We tell them about it. We provide the training. We provide career counseling to really guide them through the entire process. We don't just throw it to people and say, just come when you're ready. We really try to connect people and support them and provide further support and ongoing.
So you're following up with them.
Absolutely.
Make sure they stay on it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now it provides a business, a healthy business that is providing good education and development for a child to become that productive citizen. That
Everybody
you're referring
wins.
to. Everybody wins.
Really
it's a
important.
win-win situation. And it really goes back to the idea of when you think about all of the efforts that are made in social services, they're tremendous and they're all necessary. But at Patch, what we're doing is we're starting at the very beginning. We're kind of starting at the front end rather than the back end, which can be sometimes more expensive at the back end and more time consuming. We want to help create more generations where at the front end they've been given that opportunity so that hopefully the back end will start to look a little smaller.
Yeah, right.
You know?
In a larger sense, it's a lot cheaper that way.
Absolutely.
Okay, we take a short break. It's Laura Brucia Hamm, Executive Director of Patch, the People Attendant to Children. Really simple,
Really
but very
simple.
important. Here on Aloha United We Stand, talking about better learning at Patch, and we're learning a lot ourselves. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about the business end of things for Patch.
This is Alice Lee Hagan, host of ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. My show here at ThinkTech Hawaii is every Thursday from 3 to 4 in the afternoon. I bring in interesting guests from Hawaii, the mainland, and hopefully international guests in the future. Do join us on Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. Aloha.
Ted Ralston, folks, host of our show at ThinkTech Hawaii called Where the Road Leads, where we talk about technology influencing the future of Hawaii. Technology, of course, is the art of solving problems. We always bring in interesting and informed guests who can see from different perspectives and different points of view how that future might unfold and how technology can assist us in getting there. So once again, join us 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Fridays. Ted Ralston, your host. And please, if you have ideas that you'd like us to address on this show or folks who you think should be on it, let us know.
Here we are. We didn't go anywhere. We've been talking during the break, and you missed out, and I'm sorry for that. But let me reintroduce Laura Brucia Hamm. She's Executive Director of Patch, People Attendant to Children. And we're learning better at Patch here on Aloha United We Stand. So one of the things we were talking about in the break was there's an analysis where you spend $1 and you get over life, I guess, in the community, in the effect of the social safety net on life in the community. You get a factor, you get a multiplier. And in Hawaii, the multiplier is for every $1 you spend, you get $7 of benefit. In other places, they have other factors. Who knows if it's calculated exactly the same way. But what this raises in my mind, you'd be surprised, is, are there other patches? Is Patch in a national network? Are you connecting up, confederated with other similar organizations in other states?
Right. We are connected to Child Care Aware, which is at a national level, which is focused on early learning. We are also connected to the Alliance for Stronger Families and Communities. And one of their main impact areas or focus areas is also early learning. And there's a few others that we're connected to as well at a national level.
Do the same things.
Very similar, correct. Slightly different focus, like the Alliance really looks at overall impact and collective impact, where Child Care Aware really focuses on the impact of the work of early learning and connecting and collecting data on early learning as well.
Collecting data?
Yeah.
Because that would be very valuable, I think.
It's extremely valuable, and it really helps for us to pay better attention on what do we need to do next, what do we need to shift.
See your success, evaluate your programs and all that. Well, so, but you said before that Patch was, I took it to mean that Patch was a local creation.
It is.
There's only one Patch, and it's right here, and you're the executive director
Yes.
of that one organization.
Yes.
Which means it has a certain amount of freedom. Nobody in Cincinnati is telling you what to do.
No,
And you can do it the way you see it and feel it.
that's right.
So one question I had before we get into the money aspect of things is, you have staff that has to be pretty good. I mean, it's an asset, but it's also a risk point. And you have these parents, or what do you call it, people who handle the businesses of child care out there in the field, who you are training, and you have to select and deal with them, qualify them in some way. How do you do that? Because they're both assets, but they're both risks too to your mission. How do you find the right people?
Right, that's a very good question. Well, through interviewing and finding out exactly what their goals are, can tell you a lot about a person. Then, of course, to go through all of the educational training it takes quite some time. And then, of course, Department of Human Services is also involved. So they do quite a bit of the monitoring, checking in, drop-ins, making sure everything's up to par, everything is safe, and also being supportive to the provider as well. We also like to stay connected to our providers too. You know, as soon as they're done, we don't drop them there. We're going to check in and make sure, can we raise the bar a little bit more? Are there more classes that are coming down the pike that are advancing the early learning environment? And we're going to encourage you to take part in that and keep your licensing up to speed. So there's a nice balance that you're getting from the support of the state, as well as the support of Patch as a separate 501c3 nonprofit entity to support those providers.
Do you ever have people who you thought could handle it, who you subsequently find cannot?
That's a good question. I would have to ask one of my managers, which I haven't asked yet. I have asked if we've had any major stories that I should be aware of, and nothing has come up so far. So.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Good to hear.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the challenges, and the challenge for any nonprofit is always money. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're selling widgets, you know, where you can, you know, reduce the cost of the widget and increase your marketing and make more money. It's not like that.
Not.
So how do you mentioned earlier that you raise your money from state agencies, maybe some federal agencies too?
Well, Department of Human Services and DOL are our top two our state agencies, money funneled through the federal as well. And they comprise together about 88% of our funding. Then we have about another 15, 17% that are through grants, foundations, and then a very small percentage, about 1 to 2, that we see on a consistent basis is through local donors and the Aloha United Way. Mm-hmm. We want to increase that. We know that we have to take our part in that as an organization to be more vocal, to appear and be more connected to Aloha United Way.
That's part of your job.
Absolutely. So that's another thing we're paying attention to and shifting is really trying to find some unique ways and some new revenue streams to pour into and to support the work that we do, because we don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future of the government funding.
That's true, and all nonprofits have to worry about that at 3 in the morning. Yeah.
We sure do, and so we have to be smart and find how we can generate fees, perhaps even stronger with the clients and the providers that we serve, and with the community at large, but also, you know, encouraging people to choose us as an opportunity to really invest in the future. Because like we said earlier, for every dollar that's spent, if I put in $100, I know that's really $700 savings to the community. And what exactly does that mean? That means that we're saving money not putting more children in special education. We're saving money to the community and reducing teen pregnancy, increasing high school graduation, less high school dropouts, becoming productive citizens, and less children going into incarceration or detention.
Yeah, what's interesting is that you're sort of in the middle, correct me if I'm wrong, between two things, two processes. You know, one is the risks to kids. There's a lot of risks to kids, and you know, the nuclear family, for one thing. And the other is the multiple jobs that so many parents have to have in order to survive, in order to pay the bills. And there's a lot of, you know, we had one guest yesterday who talked about trying to train families financially. And if you trained them financially, it made a world of difference in how well they could do, whether they could rent or buy a house. And if you, on the other side, if you didn't train them so well, they're going to be homeless. Right. So, you know, there's always that risk in Hawaii right now that it can't find enough jobs to fulfill their day, or that they don't know how to manage their money. And you're in the middle.
Yes.
You have to you have to take the children off their hands so they can go work.
Absolutely.
And you have to create children for the future who will not be at risk.
Exactly.
So you're very important to us, all of us. So maybe you could make the case. There's your camera. You could make the case to the average Joe out there about why Patch is important. Patch and other organizations like this, to his good welfare, to his life, his business, his, economic status.
And thank you for saying his, because it is for his and her.
Thank you for saying her.
Yes.
Because it is for his and her.
It is for his and her. When a child is involved in preschool or quality child care program, what you just said hit it right on the nose. Parents are at work. They're being productive. They're helping boost our economy. The children are spending more of their awake hours in a quality, we hope, a quality program, child care program or preschool program, more of their awake hours. As Patch, we are dedicated to ensuring that that amount of days and hours is going to be for the benefit of that family, so that that family can afford. We know Hawaii is the most expensive state to live in, and we know that not only one adult in the household has to work, but all of the adults in the household have to work. So we believe we want to support that entire family unit. It's not just about productive children for our future, but we know that by providing this, we are also creating productivity, less stress, more connectivity within that family, food on the table, more income, more opportunities, a more balanced life. And we know that by, again, knowing that if my child is in a safe environment and being raised in a quality place to be productive, I can go to work and be comfortable, do my job, be productive, and serve the community
So it's
that I
both
work
ends.
in. It's
That's the
absolutely
point,
worth
yeah.
and it's like what you said earlier, it's a win-win situation. It's a very robust, very holistic work that we do. It's not just, again, working with the child, but we know the impact it has not only on that child, that family, but the entire community, that neighborhood.
You realize if we had an economic boom in this state where you wouldn't have to have both parents working, they wouldn't have to work 2 or 3 jobs, you'd be out of business. You realize that?
Absolutely. We would be out of
That'd
business.
be okay, wouldn't
Yeah. No, it wouldn't be okay. And our annual report, and you can check it out. I'll get you a copy of it. But last year we, had over close to 30,000 children in a place. But we know there are many, many more children who need it. And it's hard, for a parent if they're not familiar with Patch. What am I going to do now? Where am I going to place my child? I can't afford it. We really want people to spread the word more, which is one of our other biggest assets, is that parents really talk about us and they tell their neighbors and their family and friends about what we do.
Okay, well, we're going to do that.
There's never enough.
Never enough.
Yeah.
We're going to do that too. We're going to put this video on YouTube. We're going to put it on Olelo. We're going to make it, we're going to put it out there. Hopefully that'll help you in your efforts.
Thank you very much.
Laura Brucia Hamm, Executive Director of Patch, People Attended to Children, which is a very, very good organization. And we're learning better at Patch here on Aloha United We Stand. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you very much.
Great
Such
to
a
talk to you.
pleasure.
Aloha.
Thank you. Aloha.